When the subject of the Bigfoot Sasquatch phenomenon is mentioned, a majority of folks think of the Pacific Northwest of the U.S., British Columbia of Canada, and to a lesser degree the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. These elevations offer remote seclusion that is not likely to be visited. There is also natural protection from the elements with the abundant natural rock formations and caves, making these areas prime portions of living without being disturbed or harassed, because they are often out-of-the-way places which require extensive effort in reaching them. The higher portions of the mountain ranges are extremely difficult to develop and offer great places to hide out. The chances of being discovered by the civilized masses are nil, with a limited chance encounter by a hiker or hunter, which rarely leads to anything. While this may be true for the higher elevations in America, there are also places offering comparable conditions of living for these elusive giants. Places like southeastern Oklahoma have the Davis, Kiamichi, and Ouachita mountain ranges. Although their elevations are only 2,500 to 3,000 feet, they in some cases offer a much richer and lasting food supply with a less harsh weather condition to contend with. There are river bottoms in Oklahoma that are lush with plants and various roots, freshwater mussels, and live game, which easily supplied the Native American populations long before the white man altered their way of living. Many of these waterways also stretch through Oklahoma and remain running most of the year. If not, there are an extensive series of lakes spread throughout the state which guarantee a lasting water supply. These wooded areas stretch eastward into Louisiana, offering habitable places far from populated areas and cities, places that have remained the same for thousands of years and are rarely, if ever, visited. The 1970s B-movie named The Legend of Boggy Creek was shot in an area known as the Arklatex region, where these swamps and waterways are located. It involves southwest Arkansas, northwest Louisiana, and northeastern Texas, locations that are rich in cover and food sources. My first visual sighting involved the East Fork of the Trinity River, located in Collin County, Texas, that is shown here in this video clip. This place offered cover, concealment, and a lasting food supply of fish, crawfish, nuts, berries, roots, and live game. I suspect a family group inhabits this area at least part of the year. It is also where my first photograph was obtained of these subjects and will be shown later in this video. The area of my sighting lies approximately 200 to 300 yards inside the tree line shown across the river and is displayed here. Again, a thick cover and concealment with little entry. This clip is an example of the thick foliage and cover that is abundant in the undeveloped areas of East Texas, a perfect combination of a thick canopy of trees, mostly hardwoods, and ground-level vegetation to hide and live among, quite undisturbed. If needed, movement and avoidance of unwanted visitors can be easily accomplished, especially if knowing the precise arrangement of the terrain. Hello, my name's Stuart Taylor. I'm standing along the banks of Rowlett Creek, north of Lake Ray Hubbard, along the East Trinity River bottom Today, I'd like to talk about my first experience of that. What in the world was that moment? It was about early spring 2003. My son and I had come out here just south of this location. I'd be taking the picture there, but they're doing construction. There's all kinds of equipment and noise. So I moved north of that location, but the creek is right here behind me in this tree line. 2003, we had pulled up to the banks of the creek, had put out a Coleman lantern and folding chairs about 8 p.m. We were fishing for minnows under a cork, stink bait on the bottom, just a smorgasbord, and throwing lures. Whatever was coming through, we were going to catch it. Good father and son time. My son and I have done that many times as he grew up. We were out there from 8 o'clock. It was past midnight, somewhere around 1 o'clock, give or take 30 minutes. I began to notice and hear movement in the brush north of us. There was a little side slough that ran perpendicular into the creek. We were fishing on the apex of that point of land. So we were surrounded by water on two sides and an open parking area behind us. I wasn't concerned with the movement I heard. It was probably 150 yards away. But I noticed over a period of time that the sounds were steadily growing closer. Again, not concerned. You have armadillo, fox, coyotes, different animals that forage at night, and of no concern or harm to anybody. Well, at some point I began to get this distinct feeling of being watched. My level of alertness clicked up a few notches, but again, by no means, afraid. But it really topped out when I heard a fairly large twig snap from being stepped on, something that a light four-legged animal, agile four-legged animal, wouldn't do. Indicated mass there. Well, I put the pole down in the folding chair and casually walked over to the truck cab and got my Q-beam out and began to casually scan across that side slough in the direction these noises had come from. At some point while scanning and panning, I momentarily saw what I thought was the shape of a man's face kind of recessed in the brush, but it passed so quickly through and I wasn't expecting to see anything. I kind of went past it before it registered. I snapped back, and was looking intently trying to see what I had just momentarily saw. My son noticed my quick movements out of the corner of his eye and looked over and said, "Dad, what are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm just looking." I didn't want to really concern him or, at any level. And I minimized it. I said, "Oh, I'm just looking." I put the light up, sat back down in the chair, and resumed fishing. Although my level of alertness now, I was intently kind of keeping my mind over there. I'd already looked at the parking lot. There wasn't anything or anybody around us within 100 or more feet. Not less than 5 minutes, not more than 10. As I'm fishing right there, looking at my line, we're about two feet off of this sharply dropped off bank, which is right here too. I'm going to estimate to be about a cinder block size object came flying out of that brush line about 100 feet away at a pretty good high arc. I only saw the momentarily blur. It hit the water, produced a splash about like a 50-pound child doing a cannonball off the high dive. Well, as the whoosh, produced, my son and I are falling back in the folding chairs instinctively, and large drops of water raining down, and he's up against my side yelling, "Dad, what is that? What was that?" Eyes big as plates. Well, I'm pulling him back away from the shoreline, trying to digest what just happened, and big waves fanning out. What I did know is it came awful dangerously close to us, and if it had hit either one of us, serious injury, possibly even killed one of us. So I yanked him back and I raced over to the truck, feeling threatened, got my .357 revolver out. I yelled out in a very loud voice that wasn't funny, You could hurt somebody if you throw something like that. If you throw it again, I just may shoot. I was giving them warning. I was still angry that we weren't out there hurting anybody, yet somebody was messing with us. I walked over to the side slough, kind of in the direction of where the sound had come from. I wanted to jack back with him, so I cracked it back single action, aimed it into down into the soft mud beside me, plugged one ear and cracked a round off down into the mud. Boom, loud boom. Well, immediately after the shot, it sounded like a baby bulldozer on the other side of that little side slough taking off at a high rate of speed. I'm talking crashing, bashing, snapping limbs, and just faded off after several hundred yards. Well, my son's jaw dropped open. He looked at me. I looked at him. He goes, "Dad, what was that?" I said, "I don't know, son, but let's go." That was my first what in the world was that moment. Folks, I wasn't looking for something. I wasn't anticipating anything. It just happened to me out there. And I realized over a very short period of time that nobody I know, even professionally, could have chunked something that big from that far. And at that point, I began to seek answers. And this is what this whole video is about, is something very highly elusive that lives in our forested areas and does a great job of avoiding people. On this listed date, we made entry into the East Trinity River bottom near Lavon, Texas. We found areas tracking trails through vegetation with crushed leaves. Obviously, some of the footprints were fairly good size. Nothing conclusive, but it was interesting in the fact that this was a very remote area and really gave no reason for anybody to enter it. We found the pond there where something had been pulled out of the pond and eaten, found the remains of crawfish along a railroad track, and also found this scat remains that had the remains of the crawfish in it, with seeds and various leaves and other vegetation supporting that an omnivore had left this there, and also had gotten it out of the pond at one other point in time. We also found horse apples that were eaten. Didn't have teeth or fang marks, but there were flat tooth marks, very good size, that had stripped sections of the horse apple off in a very deliberate way. And we couldn't figure any animal without hands. Again, nothing conclusive, but it was interesting. We also ran into interesting stick structures where various branches and trunks and leaves and things were woven and pulled into X structures, wedging, forming pretty much a brush arbor if and when they had leaves all through this area, but it was very isolated spots and couldn't have been weather related, not random like that. Also, in this area, I was looking over a line along the creek and happened to notice something bright that didn't match the greens and browns. It was shiny, and I focused in on it. This subject here was hiding behind a bush. Sweaty brow was reflecting the morning sunlight, and it drew my attention right there. If I hadn't seen the glint, I'd have never seen him. But right when I focused in on him at about 150 yards with binoculars, he was looking dead right at me, and I knew immediately he saw me. Well, my exclamations got the attention of another researcher. He was trying to want me to point it out down there through the brush, and I was trying to walk and stammer and just really beside myself, and almost fell over a bush. And by the time I recovered and got the binoculars back up there, this subject was gone and the bush was swaying. Another researcher heard him hitting it down the creek bank. Now, this print was taken in the same area several months before, where myself and another researcher actually saw something dark running down through the brush by the creek, and found this print about 7.5 inches wide. It's got toe digs. We couldn't determine the length of it because it was a partial, but you can see how it's gouged out. The man standing there is close to 300 pounds and doesn't even crack the clay bottom. Later that day, on the 24th, something ran across the trail in the brush, and I raced up there and was looking around. I had the distinct feeling of being watched. I couldn't make out anything, so I shot a series of photos. This is one of them. You can see the fill-in flash has lit up the tree trunks. Can you make out anything? Anything at all? How about a little closer crop? Can you make out anything interesting in the photograph at all? At the time I took these, I was just taking a series of photos in this area knowing there was activity. Found him later going through my photographs. This is a closer shot. I'm sure you can probably make out the sneaky peeker now, blending in very well with the stick structure. Let's go closer. There he is, peeking at me, both eyeballs. The right eye is catching the fill-in flash that I was using. The left eye is a little darker. He's holding up a stick with some leaves and holding those leaves right in front of his face. It's kind of almost looks like a cue stick, very straight stick. If you can't make out the eyes and his conical head, here I'll have a little mark come up. There's his eyes. There's his right eye to your left, his left eye to your right. And he's holding the leaves right above, peeking above the leaves. Then his right hand, which is to your left, he's holding the branch, very deliberately hiding and remaining perfectly still. Going back, there's the unmarked photograph. Conical head, very much like the one that I saw peeking over the bush at me. Going back to the regular shot, This is why these subjects hide so very well. You can't really make him out or see him. There's the red circle. It's one reason they are not seen by folks. You got to know what you're looking for, and it's very brief. But this is a very good example of how elusive these subjects can be out in the woods.
Kind of a oohing sound. 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 Kind of a oohing sound.
My next close encounter came the following year in April 2011. This is an area of central Oklahoma near Lake Eufaula where known activity was occurring. I was up there with several other researchers for the better part of 3 days, and first couple of days pretty much uneventful, other than a few wood knocks, a couple calls, very distant stuff, but not very demonstrative. We did find some interesting brush piles, stick structures, but on the third day, more interesting, very interesting stuff. Had a close encounter, but we began documenting a lot more evidence. Here in the clip is a marked footprint that was buried into the ground, much deeper than any of our feet would go. A smaller footprint, lighter, in the grassy area, and I obtained a distant shot at about 150 yards, what I consider a young individual spying on us, and it is following here on this video.
There's the rock to the right?
Now, for those of you that can't see it real clearly, I've marked a circle here in the brush. Watch this area. All right, there he moves to your left, is up a little bit, turning, looking down, looking back as if there's somebody else there. I readjust the camera. I'm looking through a small LED screen. I can obviously see the movement, but trying to figure out what I'm looking at. Now here in slow motion, watch that area again. He'll lift his head up. There he goes. Jumps to the left. Comes back, looks back through the brush, looks down to his left, back to us, back again to his left. We heard activity all through the brush. I just happened to catch one. There was movement. Here's a picture, a quartering view. Looks kind of elfish. It's from the video. I enhanced it. You can see the hairy shoulder, but the gray face leaves are occluding the top of the head till he moves and looks down. Here's a side view. Almost looks like a samurai wrestler looking down to his left. This was all at 150 yards. Now, the reason I was there, this picture shows what several other researchers saw earlier in the day, and one of them happened to see something peeking and quickly took this picture. Now, I've circled it here to show where the peeker was, but again, this is about 150 yards. If you weren't looking in that precise area, you wouldn't see him. Here's a closer view. You may be able to make him out, quartering out from behind the tree. A little closer view. You can see the head, the shoulder, and a grayish hand against the tree. We'll get a little closer here, clip it a little closer, enhance it. There's his gray hand, shoulder, and about half of his face peeking out. In Mississippi, they call him side face because of the peeking. Again, showing you how elusive and hard it is to see these subjects. If you don't know where and what to look for, they can easily get by you. But that's the true distance. Chances of anybody noticing being watched is very, very nil. This sketch is of a Bigfoot subject that approached to within 15 or 20 feet of me in the same area the previous pictures had been taken. I entered that wooded area late at night with the landowner in an area where she interacts with him, and this was one of at least 5 that were in the area. This one here got to within about 15 or 20 feet of me. We just looked at each other, and I mean, it was a once-in-a-lifetime deal. This is a comparison showing you his head and facial shape is very similar to the one that I took there at the East Trinity River bottom. Now, I was able to get one picture of these subjects moving around without a flash, strictly the moonlight. It's shown right here. His face is circled. He's peering out from beneath a leaf. That's not a surfer hairdo, but you can see his pronounced nose and thick brow ridge. He was right there with the rest of them. Quite intense, a once-in-a-lifetime experience for me. They were not threatening in any way, basically getting a good look at me while I was getting a good look at them. I was able to get a recording of one of them producing an owl call down the trail from us, and I will play repeated portions of it here on this video.
He's getting closer. He's getting closer. He's getting closer. This is the road coming in. This is the deer stand that I referenced to. Panning to the east, got a hill. There's the grove of trees that I panned towards, where I saw the subject in the trees. Panning now going towards the west, down the hill. Towards the road. There's the road. You see it ending down there at the gate. That was my location when I took the subject in the trees video, giving you a real distance of how far away it was. Panning back towards a more lightly wooded area, or at least timber's been cut back that direction. A lot of stacked wood back in there. Coming back, panning to my left, the road again. Down there you can see the brown. It angles around right in the center of the frame or the picture. That's the end of the road where we were camped. Panning back to the left. This will be the grove of trees somewhere in there. I'm going to have to go to the bottom, but where the subject was filmed. Driving down to the location, looking back towards the tree line. Panning to my right, which would be west or south, and then west. To the road, panning back. Wow. At the approximate location where I took the video, looking back up the hill in the general direction. GPS has stated it's about 3/10 of a mile up there. 3/10 of a mile. And you can see, I can bring this into telephoto a little bit, but not a lot. You can see a piece of paper flashing on the deer stand. It'll be just to the left middle part of that tree trunk. But this is the actual distance to that tree line up the hill where I saw the subject videoed. Panning to the left, showing the road. This will give you an idea how cautious these subjects are. I do see something in the tree line up there. There's no way I can point it out with this video camera in this configuration, but I think I'm being watched again. If I can get my lenses out there, I may be able to get some more video, but I'm gonna stop it. Yep, he's moving. Yep. Sure is. I've got some visitors. Best way I can describe without any telephoto is it's in the middle of the screen. They're watching me. I'm going to try to get video set up. Yep, there's moving up there. I see them. They're moving. I'm going to have to get my tripod and get my screens out. Yeah, he's again watching me between the trees. Oh, this is cool. This is cool. I don't know if he knows I see him or not. If he does, it's no big deal. I'm not here to hurt him. Yeah, he's watching me. Yeah. Okay. All right. Hope he would come out a little more. He's still in the trees there. It's right in the center of this. It's hard to... Yeah, let me see if I can get a pin. Alright, let me center. It's hard because this is a small screen. Let me do this. Let me get it. Let me see if I can do it. Let me see. There. Yep, just I can line it up just above the pin there. Alright, well, anyway. I'm gonna show you. Okay, it has been raining. I had to get in the truck before I could video. Thought I saw one of them up here watching me between the trees, similar to last time. I'm driving back down the road, back up to that hill location. Give you an idea how far the distance was on that telephoto shot. Right at 528 yards, according to the GPS, marking it in relation to the deer stand, which is in the same approximate location as that tree line. Just a fairly long distance up this mountain. Obviously probably have a family group living up here. They don't quite know what to figure out on me. I'm sure they're picking up my appreciation for them. I'm trying to send good, friendly thoughts. All right, we're getting into the area where I saw one. I don't know. Okay, those are wood piles. Okay, that's probably what. All right, let me roll the window down and get a better look at this. They may have been. All right, well, heading up the hill. Make sure I can get up. Plenty of gravel, not spinning or anything. So that's the tree line back that way. We're passing the deer stand right here. So anyway, you can see the hill right behind the trees there. Back down that draw. Large structure heading down the ravine, panning back from the direction, top of the hill down. We got a sharp ravine here. Drops to a ravine and then up in the trees. Location somewhere in here is where I videoed the might have been this big tree here. It'd have to be one of the big trees. But this is the approximate location of where I took the large formation by the fallen tree. I'm standing on the ridge in front of the tree line, panning towards the south. These trees from the bottom of the ravine are probably 50 to 60 feet in the air. But this is the area of where I shot the video. And you'll see the ravine down below. 50 steps down into that ravine. So there's no way he could have been on a hill as we first thought, but he was up in these trees. If you go from the deer stand, same height, about 20 degrees to your right. There's a dark spot between the trees up there. Okay, if you put the binoculars down, that joker looks like it's moving. I'll be able to see it in the video. I'm thinking there's something up in the trees. See that? Go down the hill. You see that one tree that's kind of leaning? Got some pretty good video.
That night during the eye shine encounter, I asked another researcher who had a FLIR scope and had a clear picture of this subject to point him out with a laser pointer so I could get in closer in hopes of getting a better picture. Once this subject was hit by that laser pointer, they wanted no part of it. They dropped back, kind of limbo, backwards, dipped down, spun, and jumped out of there. This is a close-up of the knuckle dig of the initial push-off, gouged in about 1.5 inches down in the dirt, obviously showing a lot of body weight and strength. After this push-off, the footprint was made as they spun, and then one jump to the left of the photo, and there's a twisting mark there. It looks like a 2 knuckle digs, and the thumbprint making that little round circle where they pivoted 90 degrees. From this point, they were separated by 6 or 8 feet. There were 2 impact points here marked. I don't know if they were feet. The ones on the left, maybe it was kind of a slide. I don't know. It was slippery and dew that night. This could be an elbow, side of a foot, obviously dented into the ground where impact was made. There's more dents on the left side, but one continuous slide on the right, which I assume was at least one of the feet that slid right off there marked. A lot of sand kicked up. Quick movement. They were out of sight in a second or just a little more. This is a diagram, shows the tree, the knuckle point. It's basically a 180 degree. They were near the drop off when they got lit up by the laser. They spun, twisted, pushed, and were out of sight in less than 2 seconds, maybe 1.5 seconds. It was a real short time, according to the guy watching the subject in the FLIR.